The night the stars burned lower than usual, Captain Elias Ward was the first to notice the flicker on his scanner, a faint, erratic pulse cutting through the static. The war had dragged for years. Humanity was fractured, exhausted, paranoid. Every blip, every signal from the sky could mean death. So when the movement appeared on the horizon, Elias didn't hesitate. He should have. He raised his pulse rifle, heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. Through the haze of smoke and ash, he saw the silhouette, tall, thin, not human. The alien's bioluminescent veins glowed faint blue beneath its translucent skin. It turned slowly, as if startled but unarmed. Elias didn't think. He fired. The sound cracked the air, echoing across the ruins of a dead colony. The figure collapsed in the dust, clutching its chest where the energy bolt had burned through. Elias approached cautiously, gun still trained, his boots sinking into the soft ash. The alien was dying, breaths shallow, eyes dimming like fading embers. Its hand trembled, fingers twitching toward something in the dirt. And then Elias saw it. In the alien's open palm, coated in soot and blood, was a small silver locket, human-made, unmistakably old. For a moment, he thought his vision was betraying him. He dropped to his knees, stunned, his breath catching in his throat. The locket wasn't just familiar. It was his mother's. The same one she used to wear every day before the evacuation, before she'd gone missing 10 years ago during the first planetary raids. He snatched it up, his hands shaking violently. The tiny hinge still worked. Inside, faded and stained by time, was a photo, himself as a child, standing beside his mother in front of their home on Earth. His chest constricted. The alien was still alive, barely. Its eyes met his, filled not with hatred but with something that crushed him. Sorrow. It tried to speak, a faint broken sound slipping through its lips. The words were distorted, almost human, but not. Elias leaned closer, desperate to understand. "Why? Did you come here?" he whispered. The alien's mouth trembled, forming sounds that seemed too fragile for this world. Then, in a rasping voice that almost sounded like English, it said, "Home. Same. Home." Elias froze. His grip on the locket loosened. The alien reached toward him weakly, touching his armor with trembling fingers. Its skin felt strangely, warm, pulsing faintly with light before the glow faded for good. Silence. Just the wind moving through the wreckage, carrying the smell of smoke and regret. For the first time in years, Elias couldn't breathe. His training, his duty, his orders, they all vanished beneath the crushing weight of what he'd just done. He'd pulled the trigger without question, just as he'd been taught. And now he was kneeling beside something that had somehow carried a piece of his past, a piece of his mother. He pressed the locket to his forehead, eyes burning. His squad was still out there, scanning the horizon, expecting him to report back. He couldn't move. The guilt anchored him to the ground. What was that alien doing with this? Why did it have her locket? He looked toward the sky, the same sky his mother once pointed to when she told him that not everything up there was an enemy. Her voice echoed in his mind. "Don't let fear make you blind, Eli." But fear had done exactly that. He buried the alien's body under the ruins, his hands blackened with dust. Before covering its face, he looked once more at its eyes. Still open, still faintly glowing, as if watching him. Something deep inside told him this wasn't over. When he returned to base, no one asked questions. He told them it was a confirmed kill. The others celebrated another victory, another day alive. But Elias couldn't sleep. The locket sat on his table, faint scratches gleaming under the cold light. On the back, something he had never seen before. A new engraving, not from Earth. A circular pattern of unfamiliar symbols faintly pulsing with blue light. He tried to ignore it, but it began to glow brighter at night, humming softly like it was alive. And sometimes, when the hum rose, he swore he heard a whisper, his mother's voice calling his name. That's when he stopped reporting the incident. He knew what command would do. Seize the locket, run tests, declare him unfit. He needed answers himself, and that meant going back to the ruins, alone. 2 nights later, he returned under the pale moons. The body was gone. No trace. Only a faint trail of blue luminescence leading deeper into the canyons, like breadcrumbs left behind by something that wanted to be found. He followed them. Every step felt heavier, as if the planet itself was watching him. The glow of the locket pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Somewhere ahead, a faint echo, not mechanical, not natural, something alive. And then he heard it again. The same voice that whispered his name in the dark, Elias. He froze. The locket grew hot in his hand, almost burning. What are you? He whispered to the shadows. And what did you do to her? No answer, just the whisper of wind, and the faint hum beneath his feet, as if the ground itself was alive with something ancient. He wasn't supposed to feel fear anymore. But for the first time since the war began, he did. What if his mother hadn't died? What if she'd been taken, or worse, transformed? He looked up at the dark horizon, where the ruins ended and the unknown began. Somewhere in that silence, he felt it. Something was waiting for him. What would you do if the thing you killed held the only link to your mother? Would you follow the trail, or walk away? Tell me below. The storm had passed hours ago, but the air still crackled with static when Elias stepped into the canyon. The light from the locket pulsed in his hand like a heartbeat guiding him through the dark. Each step echoed off the stone walls. Hollow, lonely, human. He moved deeper, following the faint blue shimmer etched into the ground like veins of light. They weren't random. They were deliberate. Someone, or something, had drawn them. He thought about what the alien said before, dying. Home. Same home. The words gnawed at him, twisting everything he'd been taught about the war. Aliens were invaders, killers, destroyers of cities. That's what the military had drilled into every soldier since childhood. But what if they weren't invaders at all? What if humanity had been the intruders? He stopped. The light trail ended at a massive wall of rock. For a moment he thought it was a dead end, until the locket in his hand began to vibrate. The symbols on its back glowed brighter, projecting faint holographic lines into the air. They aligned perfectly with markings on the canyon wall. A low hum filled the space. The rock shifted. Dust poured down from above as an opening slowly emerged, revealing a narrow tunnel lit by the same blue glow he'd followed here. His instincts screamed trap, but his heart whispered truth. He went inside. The air grew colder, thinner. Strange inscriptions covered the walls, a mix of alien symbols and fragments of old Earth languages. One section stopped him cold. Carved into the stone, barely visible under layers of ash, were human words. Forgive us. His pulse raced. Who could have written that here? The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, glowing with an eerie light. In the center stood a structure, not a building, but something organic, grown from the ground itself. It pulsed faintly like it was alive, and surrounding it were shapes, figures, dozens of them. At first, Elias thought they were corpses, but then one of them moved, slowly, carefully. Their eyes opened, glowing faint blue just like the alien he had killed. But when one stepped into the light, Elias stumbled back in disbelief. It was human, or at least it used to be. The woman's skin shimmered with a faint pattern like liquid glass. Her features were familiar, too familiar. She looked almost like someone from his old colony on Earth, but altered, changed, as if two species had merged. Her gaze locked onto the locket in his hand. You brought it back, she said softly. Her voice echoed, layered, human and alien at once. Elias raised, his weapon out of reflex, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped closer, her tone filled with sadness. We didn't want the war, Elias. You came to our world first. He froze. "How do you know my name?" She smiled faintly, and for a second, something in her eyes shifted. Warmth. Sorrow. Something painfully human. "Because I taught it to you." The rifle slipped from his hands, clattering to the floor. His throat tightened, the air rushing from his lungs. That's not possible." The woman reached out her hand, fingertips glowing softly. "I told you I'd find you again, even if it wasn't as I was." He shook his head, stepping back, eyes wide. "You can't be." But she was. His mother. Different, older, changed, beyond understanding, yet unmistakable. The curve of her smile, the scar near her jaw, even the way she tilted her head when she spoke. "What happened to you?" He whispered, voice breaking. "They didn't destroy us, Elias," she said. "They saved us. When the first colonies fell, they found the dying and tried to heal us. But their way of saving meant becoming like them." His mind reeled. Everything he'd believed, the war, the propaganda, the endless cycle of hate, it all cracked in that single moment. "They turned us into monsters," he said bitterly. She shook her head. "They turned us into something that could survive, something that could remember both sides." He looked around, at the others, the hybrid survivors watching silently. Every one of them had once been human. Tears stung his eyes. "I killed one of them." His mother stepped forward. "No, Elias, you killed one of us." He sank to his knees, guilt crushing his chest. "I didn't know. I didn't know." She knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You know now, and that means you have a choice." Her hand was warm, pulsing faintly with the same light as the locket. "You can go back and tell them what you've seen, or you can help end what we started." He stared at her, torn between duty and the truth unraveling before him. A deep rumble shook the chamber, the ground quivering beneath them. His mother's expression darkened. "They're coming," she whispered. "Who?" "Your command. They tracked you here." Elias grabbed his rifle, heart racing. "Then we run." She shook her head. "No, we show them." "What would you do if you discovered the people you were taught to kill were part of your own bloodline? Would you tell the truth or stay silent? Tell me below." The ground shook like thunder rolling beneath the earth as a distant roar filled the air, the sound of human warships entering the planet's atmosphere. The chamber lights flickered, dust cascading from the stone ceiling. Elias could feel the vibration in his bones, a familiar hum, the same frequency of death he'd brought to countless worlds. His mother's glowing hand tightened on his shoulder. "They're scanning the surface," she said calmly, even as debris fell around them. "You don't have much time." "I can explain," Elias said. "If I tell them what I've seen, they'll listen." Her eyes, glowing with that haunting blue, held his gaze. "You still believe they want the truth?" He didn't answer, because deep down he knew they didn't. Command never wanted truth, only control. He had lived under their lies long enough to recognize one when it stared back at him. The hybrids around them began to move, gathering into a circle near the living structure at the center of the chamber. Their faint light pulsed in unison, forming symbols in the air. His mother turned to them, and the glow in her skin intensified. "They remember you," she said quietly. "Your name, your unit, the one that destroyed their village." Elias felt the weight of every face he'd never seen, every scream he'd never heard. He'd pulled the trigger because he was told they were the enemy, but looking around he saw nothing that resembled monsters, only the broken remnants of something that had tried to survive. "I killed them," he whispered, voice trembling. "I killed you." "No," his mother said softly. "You believed. What they told you, that's different." Above, the thunder grew louder. A streak of light cut through the crack in the rock ceiling, the unmistakable glare of an orbital flare. His earpiece crackled to life. "Captain Ward, respond. We have your beacon. Are you alive?" the voice of his old commander, cold and mechanical. He hesitated before answering. "This is Ward. I'm here." "Good. Mark your coordinates. We're sending the cleansing fire. Extraction in 5. Elias froze. "Cleansing fire?" "Affirmative. Command has authorized full purge. No witnesses, no contamination." He turned toward his mother, his heart sinking. They were going to burn everything, everyone, again. Just like last time. His mother seemed to read his thoughts. "You can still stop it," she said, "but you'll have to choose who you really are, a soldier or a son." He looked at the glowing structure in the center of the cavern. "What is that?" "Our heart," she said, "the source that keeps what's left of us alive. If they destroy it, everything ends." Elias stared at the pulsing light inside the structure. It reminded him of a heartbeat. Steady, fragile, alive. His rifle felt heavier than ever. The voice crackled again. "Ward, acknowledge coordinates now." He raised the mic to his mouth, eyes locked on his mother. "Command. Negative. No fire. Repeat. No fire." A pause. Then static. Then a voice, colder than before. "Captain Ward, you are compromised. Initiating override." His wrist console beeped violently, the detonation sequence of the locator beacon activating on his armor. He ripped it off, throwing it toward the chamber wall. His mother moved instantly, touching the air. A shimmer of blue energy surrounded them as the beacon exploded, shaking the cavern again. When the smoke cleared, Elias saw the structure flicker, its light dimming. His mother collapsed to one knee, her skin fading from luminous blue to pale gray. "What's happening?" he shouted, rushing to her. "They felt the explosion," she said weakly. "They're coming faster now. You have minutes." Elias grabbed her arm. "Then we run together." She shook her head. "No, Elias. You can't save me, but you can save them." She pointed to the structure. "Take the core, it's small enough to carry. If you reach the surface before the fire, you can shut down their targeting signal." He looked at her, his chest tightening. "I'm not leaving you." "You already left me once," she said softly. "Don't do it again." Her hand touched his cheek, warm, trembling. "You always looked at the stars and wanted to be a hero. Be one now." Tears blurred his vision as he stepped toward the structure. The hum of its pulse vibrated through his fingertips as he pulled a glowing orb from its core. The instant he did, the cavern began to collapse. "Go," she screamed. He hesitated only for a second before sprinting toward the tunnel, the orb tucked against his chest. Behind him, the hybrids raised their hands, their light combining into a barrier of blue energy, holding the cave together. For a moment, Elias looked back, and through the dust and smoke he saw his mother standing tall again, light pouring from her like a beacon. "Tell them the truth," she shouted. He turned and ran. The tunnel was falling apart. Rocks crashed down, dust choked his lungs. He stumbled into the open, gasping for air. The night sky burned orange as human ships descended like vengeful stars. The orb in his hands pulsed, syncing with the rhythm of his heart. He pulled up his old command channel, breathing hard. "This is Captain Ward. Abort strike. You're targeting civilians. Abort." No response. He looked up, the sky glowing brighter, seconds before the firestorm. And then the orb in his hands began to hum louder, emitting waves of energy that made the ground tremble. It was reacting to the ships above. He didn't understand it, but maybe it didn't matter. Maybe it was trying to save them. "What would you do?" His mother's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "If you could stop the very fire you helped ignite." He looked at the burning sky, gripping the orb tight. "Then let's finish what we started," he whispered. "Do you think this is redemption or punishment? Tell me what you believe below." The sky tore open in silence before the sound reached him. Fire rained down like molten rain from heaven, streaking through the thick alien clouds. Elias ran, the orb pressed to his chest, its pulse growing faster, alive, almost panicked. The ground heaved beneath him as shockwaves rippled through the canyon, hurling dust and flame into the air. He could feel the heat closing in behind him, the kind that erases everything: life, memory, history. He stumbled to the edge of a cliff overlooking the ruins of the alien village he once destroyed. The sight almost broke him. The cratered land stretched endlessly, glowing with veins of molten light where the fire had fallen years ago. This was his legacy, a scar carved into a world that had never fought back. Above him, the warships blazed across the sky, mechanical angels of death. His earpiece came alive again, Command's voice clear and cold. "Captain Ward, you are ordered to stand down. Hand over the alien artifact. This is your final warning." He laughed bitterly. "You already took everything else. What's left? To hand over?" "Your loyalty." He looked up, teeth clenched. "Then I guess you've lost that too." He turned the orb in his hand, its light intensifying until it filled the canyon with a soft golden hue. The hum deepened, vibrating through his bones, through the ground itself. Suddenly he could hear things, not words but thoughts, echoes, 1,000 memories flickering inside the light. His mother's voice, the cries of the villagers, the alien he had killed whispering home. Same home. The orb wasn't a weapon. It was a memory, a living archive. It carried everything he'd tried to destroy, and it was showing him the truth. The hybrids hadn't been soldiers. They had been refugees, survivors of another world humanity had burned decades ago. The invasion wasn't their first strike, it was their return. He dropped to his knees, the weight of it crushing him. Every lie, every kill, every medal now felt like ash in his hands. The voice of command snapped him back. "Final strike inbound. If the artifact is not surrendered, we will cleanse the entire sector." He stared at the horizon, a dark swarm of bombers approaching fast. The orb's pulse synced with the rumble of the earth, and then something inside it, something ancient, woke up. A beam of soft golden light erupted from the orb, spiraling upward into the clouds. The warships halted mid-flight as their engines sputtered. The entire sky shimmered as if reality itself was folding. Elias felt his body lifting slightly, gravity loosening its grip. The air filled with a low, harmonic hum, peaceful, sorrowful, infinite. Then he saw her, his mother, standing in the light before him, her features human again, eyes warm, no longer glowing blue. She looked the way she had before the war, gentle, alive, and heartbreakingly real. "Elias," she said softly, her voice calm in the chaos. "It's not too late." He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "They won't stop. You know they won't stop." "Then make them see." He looked at the orb, its surface swirling with light. Images of humans and aliens side by side, building, living, mourning. It was proof that neither side had ever truly been separate. "If I use this," he said quietly, "I don't come back, do I?" Her eyes shimmered with sadness. "No, but they will remember you." The roar of the bombers grew closer. He could see their silhouettes now, black against the burning clouds. He closed his eyes, pressing the orb to his heart. The light consumed everything, brighter, warmer, rising until it was all he could feel. He thought of the alien he'd killed. He thought of his mother's locket, of the child in the photograph, of what she said. "Don't let fear make you blind, Eli." The last thing he whispered before the light exploded was, "I see now," and then silence. When the light faded, the sky was clear. The ships were gone. The war network offline. Across human colonies and alien settlements alike, transmissions suddenly changed. Their data flooded with images from the orb. Children, of two worlds playing under the same sky. The ruins reborn with green light, names of the lost glowing like constellations. Some called it a miracle, others called it sabotage. But everyone agreed on one thing: the war ended that day. They found his armor days later, fused into the rock. The locket was still there, untouched. Inside, next to the old photo, Someone had added a new one. Elias and his mother, standing together beneath alien skies. No one knew who placed it there, but some nights when the wind passed through the canyon, people swore they heard a faint hum, like a heartbeat echoing through the stars. What would you have done if you were Elias? Destroy the truth or die revealing it? Tell me below.